Up gets nothing effect. Has that one taken away by Troy Hellman. It seems like this could be.
Hello and welcome to the Overwatch League Recap, a talk show focusing on the Overwatch League. I am Boomer Bob, and today I'm joined by iplaigames, aka Andres. What's up, brother?
Hey, how's it going? It's good to be back. It feels like it's been ages since the last time, but that being said, it feels like right at home.
Yep, definitely. It's been a little bit, but we're also joined by Mel. What's going on, Mel?
Hello, I'm back. It's been like 2 months.
Yeah, it's been a decent amount of time, but we are definitely back. We had some things we wanted to work out about the show, some things we wanted to do differently, and just like a lot's changing next year in season 3, and so a lot's changing for us too. I'm gonna let Andreas take it right here from the start and say what his announcement coming up here.
Sure thing. Yeah, like Bob said, we've been talking a lot about where the show is heading, how we see ourselves interacting with the show. And I think we had to like really look at ourselves and what we were good at, how we wanted to keep going about content creation based on Overwatch League. And like you said, Bob, there's a lot changing this year. The league is going international. It's going local. Games are going to be all over the place. It's going to be a little bit harder to follow, especially if you want to cover the league as a whole in its entirety. And I've been thinking a lot about what I'm good at the game. I think that talking about the strategy, learning the game, that's something that comes very naturally to me, right? It's kind of like my lifestyle. I play Overwatch. I talk about Overwatch. Very simple. Um, Owl Recap has been a super awesome project, but it's taken me to explore different aspects about content creation. In this case, aspects that are a little bit more journalistic, and it's been amazing. The stuff that we've done with the show has been an incredible experience. We've gotten to meet so many people from Overwatch League, so many casters and talent and guys that we've learned so much from, and that we love to watch playing. So it's an honor meeting all these people and getting to work with them in many different occasions. But for the future, I've gotten very, very busy with my own personal life, work life, and other responsibilities, etc. So I don't see myself being able to follow the league as I've been able to in the past. So I was talking to Bob a lot about this, and I probably see myself taking a step back from the weekly activities of the show. So you guys probably won't see me as much in the weekly episodes that you're used to. But I'll still be part of the show in many ways, especially behind the scenes. I'll still be working with Bob and Mel to make sure that we have a good platform to host the shows, to make sure that they're growing healthy, keeping those relationships alive and well, and making sure that we're still delivering to you guys the content that you guys want to watch. I'll still be coming on from time to time, so you guys haven't gotten rid of me completely. But yeah, that being said, we wanted to just talk to you guys about the changes coming to the show. I'm sure Bob and Mel will have a lot more things to say in the coming episodes in the direction that they personally want to keep taking the show further. But yeah, like I've said, it's been an awesome adventure and experience with you guys. And I can't wait to see where the show goes from here. Oh, Bob is gone again.
Oh my gosh.
I thought I had done a monologue long ago that Bob would have been able to fill.
Testing.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah,
He's back.
that's so weird. Sorry about that, guys. But yeah, for Mel and I, with all the changes coming in season 3, we weren't sure, all the games being on the weekends, it's going to be impossible to cover it all. So we weren't sure about that. Me personally, I was really hoping to hear Blizzard say that Overwatch was going free to play at BlizzCon, and that didn't end up happening, which was a big bummer for me because I really see the growth of the game and the esport like just increasing tenfold if it goes free to play. But unfortunately, that doesn't look like it's in the cards, at least Maybe Overwatch 1 will be free to play and Overwatch 2 will be something you have to pay for. I don't know. Hopefully something like that. But if you look at the biggest esports, they're all free to play. And that just gets more people in, more people interested, and it just makes it more popular. But we did do so much that I just couldn't see myself in the leaving this show in the biggest season yet. Like this season 3 of Overwatch League is going to either be amazing or it's going to set esports as a whole back a long time. So we're hoping that we get to be part of it. But as the show moves on, some changes we're going to be doing is we're not like Andre said, we've kind of tipped our toe into journalism, and quite frankly, other people do it better. We do a good job at talking and analyzing things that are happening in the league, things that are pertinent, things that we want to talk about. So we won't be giving every bit of news going forward. We won't be telling you Acapulco joined the team and no one's ever heard of him. Like, we're just not going to be doing that. And we're open to talking about many things. So send us what you would like to talk about. As for right
Basically,
now,
we just want to talk about what we know. So if we don't know a player that got signed, we don't really want to talk about the impact that player might have, just speculating. So
Dallas Field versus Houston Outlaws podcast coming
Ugh.
2020.
oh man, that is another thing. Expect us to pay very close attention to the Western teams. We probably won't be paying a ton of attention to the Eastern teams, and there'll probably be podcasts that do that, but I really doubt any podcast is going to be able to keep up with the league as a whole. Like, we did a good job, and we watched more than the majority of podcasts. So I just really doubt anybody's going to be able to truly keep up with it. And we want to keep up with the teams that we love and the culture that we're used to. So that's what we're going to do. Do you have anything else you wanted to add, Mel?
nope.
All
I'll
right.
still tell you all about Houston. Don't worry. And all their wonderful games.
Yeah, but I still burn blue. We still have Brick Victory down there in LA. Might be able to get us some coverage of the different home stands down there. Andres, I'm sure, will be going to the home stands in Atlanta. As for me and Mel, we were going to make it to Dallas, but our trip overseas really kind of broke the bank. So I don't see us traveling to any of the first couple months of games, which is unfortunate, but it's just the way it goes. But we will definitely be watching them hard, covering them hard, and looking for anybody who might be an on-site correspondent for us. All right, well, let's jump into the show. We always start the show off thanking our recap producer, Shazir, and all of our other great Patreons, which that's another thing that's going to get reworked. So stand by for that. It'll be a couple weeks, but we're going to rework that, of course, because iPlay is stepping back. So we don't know what's to come with that, but we will let you know in the coming future. All right, guys, let's jump right in. So this isn't that interesting, but kind of like threw me off. Teamspeak becomes the official voice chat for Al. This first threw me off big time because Discord is used so heavily by all of the teams. But then I read
Might as
deeper.
well like pick up Ventrilo, right?
Yeah,
like,
Vent.
Remember Ventrilo?
But I looked.
Glory days, they're trying to come back. They're like, what's hip these days? Overwatch League? Okay, let's advertise it.
Yeah, we got this.
Well, but looking into it deeper, it's only going to be used for their on-site matches. So like when they're on stage, they were using just a simple chat, like analog chat program. They weren't using Discord. So this might help just improve quality of sound across the board for it. And it's just another partner for the Overwatch League going forward.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that for the league they have to have something that is local, like a local client. I don't know if with Discord you have that possibility. I mean, I'm sure if like they make a partnership, Discord might make something available for them. But
Yeah, they need a LAN client. Gotcha.
Yeah, it seems
Yeah.
like Ventrilo kind of stepped up there and like they made the
Teamspeak, not Ventrilo.
okay,
We
okay,
didn't
I'm
go
sorry.
quite that far back.
But because yeah, for the security risks, right? If you have anything that it's not local and you have to go through the internet for it, you're just opening yourself up for like disaster, right? What if Discord goes down in the middle of the match?
Right. I think a lot of it did have to do with security. I think it was preventing other people from intercepting game comms or finding previous game comms or things like that. So I think that was a big thing with it. But yeah, it just really threw me off when I saw it. It's like TeamSpeak.
But either way, going forward, it'll be good just to have another partner. And TeamSpeak was the chat program used before Discord showed up out of nowhere. So the Overwatch patch has been finalized, and I wanted to give Andres a little bit of time to talk about what these changes might mean for the Overwatch League versus the current meta that we're in.
It's a big patch. We actually got to talk about it on Omnic Lab on their latest episode, and there's some content out there already. I know that your Overwatch just did a video about it too. So there's some opinions out there, and I think that without having played it too much, and obviously without going live, the general consensus is that there's going to be a meta shift, and Dive is starting to look very appealing, not because the heroes that are currently meta are bad or are going to become bad, but there are a series of changes that, while retaining the power of those heroes, will allow Dive to sort of be a little bit more fluid and have a little bit more space. Between those changes, I'm talking about Diva getting boosters every 3 seconds. So now you'll be able to rock it with her every 3 seconds, which gives her an insane amount of mobility and allows her to keep up with the most mobile heroes in the game, like Hammond, like Doomfist, etc. And then we also have changes to Winston that happened a while back. His shield is much stronger, while the shields of everyone else are a little bit weaker. Orisa's the Fortify is getting a slight little nerf, so she's a little bit more damageable. And the biggest one of all is May. Her freeze is getting a little bit of a tweak. Now her freeze the freezing effect, not when you're completely frozen solid, but like the slow that you get when she's freezing you only lasts for a second after she stops kind of like having the beam on you, down from 1.5 seconds. So before it used to be very forgiving, right? You could just kind of like swath around and sort of like freeze someone, and you had 1.5 seconds to sort of like recenter your aim on them and keep spraying. Now that's been reduced by half a second, and then the amount that she slows you at first is a little bit less. It used to slow you 30% of your total speed. Now it slows you 20%, and it sort of keeps ramping up from there. But this makes it a lot more forgiving, again, for dive characters like Hammond or Genji, especially.
Mm-hmm.
Characters that like threading the line of being around May, but they can get away from her rather easily. Before May could actually stop him before they could get away. Like Hammond, he used to have a huge problem with this because if May just barely kind of sprayed around to him, it could slow him enough to the point where he couldn't escape her grasp anymore, or slow his momentum where he couldn't like get his maximum speed and would get stuck. So she actually ended up being a huge counter to dive when she shouldn't be. Dive should be the thing that sort of counters May. She should be great in choke points against mobile comps that like grouping up, right? So she can freeze them all and sort of like handle them. But the way that you should be able to counter May is by a lot of mobility, right? Surrounding her, not allowing her to get close to you and not play to her advantage. So I think those are big changes that are gonna emphasize that like dive meta again. So it's gonna be interesting to see what the pros do with it. I mean, I'm sure Chengdu hunters right now are salivating over this patch.
Now, is the Hanzo projectile speed in that patch too?
Yes.
Yes.
Where
Yeah.
there's
Hansa projectile speed is also going live. So he's sort of getting reverted to old Hanzo, where his arrows are a little bit slower, resembling more of a projectile rather than like that super fast arrow that sometimes almost feels hit scan in the hands of the right player.
That's going to work out for me because I never learned the new Hanzo, so I could go back to being good at Hanzo again.
Right back at it.
Yep. Yeah. So, do you think
My
that's gonna?
question would be,
Oh,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, do you think that's the Hanzo change is gonna open up more room for us to see some McCrees and different hit scans back in the run of things?
I think so. I think that it's gonna make it less oppressive for Widow right now. Widow has a really tough time against Hanzo. A good Hanzo has a huge advantage in that duel when it should ideally be the other way around after a certain distance, right? If they're close enough together, it should be anyone's game. But after a certain distance, the hit skin character should clearly have an advantage. But Hanzo still has that big advantage over Widow even at a big distance. So
Yeah.
and it's gonna make him less reliable, right? Because his projectile, after a certain distance, people can actually dodge your arrow, or you're gonna have to predict a lot more than just react how you kind of do it now. So again, making other characters maybe more attractive. I think he's it's still gonna be a great character in the right hands, but it's just not gonna be the always pick it just because there's no downside character.
Gotcha. All right. Cool. Do you have any more thoughts, Bell, or questions?
Yeah, so I guess one of the big controversies around Overwatch is that we constantly get mirror matches, right? And I know they keep giving balance changes and things like that. I just don't know if there's, at this point in the game, if there's any way around mirror matches. Do you guys agree or disagree? Like, I just feel like somebody figures out the best thing to do, so everybody else does it.
I wish you were wrong. I really wish you were wrong, but I
I
think
just
you're
don't think
right.
I don't think teams have gotten a chance to create an identity yet, especially with all the changes that they've been doing
I think
getting up
that's
for the season. Like they don't have the difference of like having a running quarterback versus a non-running quarterback, right? Or like they don't have those slight variations that two different teams have shown to be successful against each other, right? Because they're just working on like they're working on the clock and being like, okay, well, we know this works. Let's do it.
I think that's just a product of changes happening a lot faster than in different games of that sort. You could figure out a new meta as we saw Shanghai Dragons do in stage 3 if you have enough time to do it. You know what I mean? You were gonna say I play?
Yeah, I think that right now it's inevitable, not so much because of like the meta. I mean that influences us a little bit, but it's also how the game is played. Ultimates are such a big part of the game that I think that the game itself doesn't emphasize hero swapping too much. And we can get into like a deep discussion on this. I don't want to like get too deep on it, but when you are in the game and you swap heroes, you forgo your ultimate. A team that is doing this constantly then forgoes a lot of ultimate charge, right? Unless you're finding quick opportunities to swap at the right times. But like honestly, that's hard to do. Uh,
But
More
not even
importantly,
swapping, just like playing a different composition, right? So like say Valiant can play dive and somebody else can play bunker comp and they when they play each other, they still play their individual, play style, but I don't know if it's balanced enough to get to that point or if we're just not creative enough yet. But I will say they have added a decent amount of coaches, most teams have this year. So maybe we will see a little bit more creativity.
yeah, I think the closest to that has been Chengdu Hunters, where they, no matter what, they were kind of like playing their own meta, and they had some success. Sometimes they would catch teams off guard,
Yeah.
and their own playstyle. I mean, they might be a great team this season just because all their heroes might actually be like really good right now. So maybe a team that can stick to their own meta when buffs come in for them is like great times. Like, woo, we're like the best ones, but like sometimes they're not gonna be as good. Because that's the thing. Like people could play that, but sometimes, yeah, some compositions are just straight up better in some maps. Some compositions are straight up better more consistently in certain maps. So some teams are just like, you know what, we're just gonna play this one because we talk about hero swapping a lot is not that good. So you might as well just choose one that is almost like a one size fits all kind of thing. I mean, that's what GOATS was for a while. That's what
Yeah,
the
just
double
get
shield
really good
meta
at it, you know.
was for a while. Yeah, just get really good at those, and you can run him almost anywhere with a few tweaks here and there to kind of customize it to the map, right? Um, but then you don't have to like be swapping. You don't have to be like changing too much. It's just very consistent. So yeah, I guess that's part balancing and part just e- ease of access for the teams too.
I feel like we will see more styles just because of people playing people less often and not everybody being in the same city, in the same little area of, the studio that they used to be in. Like, there'll be less espionage, there'll be less, people at the bar telling this other coach that they're trying this. There'll be a lot less of that. So there'll be some diversity, but I think a lot of
Like
teams.
when you go to Korea, it's gonna be like the Korean meta or
Yeah,
something. And
yeah.
oh man, they play
I
these things over
wonder
there.
I wonder if there will be like an Atlantic and Pacific meta difference.
I
You
hope
know what I
so.
mean? I
I
feel
hope
like there
so.
has to be. Like just because they may copy off of each other a little bit, but the teams they're playing against are going to play differently, you know?
True.
Yeah, and
China does like going against the current a lot of the time, so like they might be having like their own meta over there too. They love Sombra.
I think a lot of teams would have benefited from not trying to be meta slaves. Like we
Yes,
saw
you know.
Houston like do good when they actually finally gave up on it, and so I think you could see a lot of diversity if I've said it for a long time. If teams just had a little bit more balls, that's all. Like just a little bit more confidence and just willing to take a risk. But we should move on to talk about something else. It will definitely be interesting. I'm just glad that there's no more goats, and I'm hoping to see a lot more flashier play this next season. So a couple teams changed their colors. The Mayhem went to the pink, and the Shock went to like I don't know, like a more gray, and
It's
then
silver and black with like an orange accent. I think before they were orange and black with like a silver accent.
like a
They just
gray
kind of
accent.
like, yeah, they just kind of swapped primary colors.
And then
They
the
don't want to make the orange the
Valiant,
main one.
yeah, the Valiant are now the London Spitfires. So
I know, right?
yeah, I didn't like. I really liked the Valiant's colors, and the first thing I thought about is, come on, dudes, like this is gonna piss off a lot of people that bought jerseys.
Well, all I can think about is do we really need another blue team? They might as well have gone blue and red and just sealed the deal and, you know, been very generic. But like what we have so many blue teams. Why?
There are a lot of blue teams. It's true.
Yeah. What is the point of that? Like,
Yeah, I don't get it. I heard someone say it's to represent the blue skies of Los Angeles, but honestly, like Los Angeles, it's usually gray skies. I mean, it's
listen,
bright,
newsflash,
but
sky is blue everywhere you live. So just a heads up. It is not unique to LA.
I don't know. It always seems to be gray when I look up in LA.
I like the Mayhem colors. I think they look cool. They experimented with
Anything
these.
was
Kinda
better
like
than Mayhem before.
it's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Like,
Yeah,
come on.
McDonald's, the McDonald's mayhem.
Mayhem had to do something. It was like a
They did.
must.
After
Now-
2 seasons of being completely like not doing very good, they had to
Right.
at least rebrand.
At least try.
And that
Some-
makes sense. Like, but why did Valiant do it? And why did Shock do it? I mean, it seems like a money grab to me, but maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know, but you get to keep the old shirts. It's gonna be like OG shirts in a while.
It's like vintage now.
Yeah, I used to support this team way back in the day. Look, I got the orange shirt. People are gonna be like, "Dude, you got the orange shirt."
Heads up.
Those in years.
You could not purchase the skins in game, the old skins after January 15th. So if you still want the vintage skin, if you want to look like Ronald McDonald, you can still do it.
I still have my Genji skin from Shock that I thought I was buying for Philly. So
Yep.
Whoops.
got it.
Got it.
Yeah, well, like I don't know. It just seemed a little weird. The mayhem made sense to me. The other two I didn't really get. But let's move on. Some talent is joining the Overwatch League talent team. We've got Jake and Costa decide to join the talent team after retiring as pro players. Jake's going to be a caster. With ZP. ZP finally gets into the league, and Custa's going to be on the desk. Kind of, I mean, it was a perfect transition if you've ever seen the CNN Custa News Network that the Valiant did. It was some of the best team content that was put out. So I mean, he was really good at it, and I think he's going to be good at this. But what do you guys think about the cast or them coming on to the talent squad?
I think it's great. I think it's homegrown talent. It's guys that have been down in the trenches. They know what it's like to play, and they are polished enough that they do a great job at the desk. They can communicate this stuff really easily to other people. Jake has always been able to do this. He's always been known to be well spoken and be very knowledgeable about the game. The times that I've seen him cast, he's done a great job. So I think this is a great addition to the people who especially like the analytical part of casting, because now we get an inside look into what a player is actually thinking in a lot of these plays. These guys have lived it and they know what it is.
I do like that they came from different positions, DPS and support, right? So I think they both bring a different outlook. I think they're both very, I don't know how you say it, but like likable people. They both have a personality of just one, talking a lot. Both of them can very much so talk a lot. And two, I think that they have an intelligent view of the game, right? I think, Custa has too big of a brain, be a support, so we might as well put him on the desk.
Yeah, definitely. And I think they're going to bring another level to it. I almost kind of wish Jake was on the desk too. But it'll be good having him, after losing Montecristo, he'll be a good add to that team. But I do think it's a little.
He's not as controversial as Montecristo, let's be real here.
No, but is anybody really?
No.
I think they'll be good. I've been watching Custis Dream. He's been doing question and answer stuff. I worry about some of his answers just because it seems like he's very set in stone, very black and white in everything that he says. Like, for instance, he was talking about making Overwatch League more popular, and I was like, well, going free to play would do that. And his answer was, you can't go free to play because that would bring too many cheaters. Well, I mean, other games have dealt with that. Like, I wasn't saying are the disadvantages of going free to play. I was saying that's a way to make it more popular, and it just seemed kind of off, like an off answer. But he is really good most of the time, and most of the stuff he says is really smart. Jake, I mean, I just feel like you can't lose with Jake. Like he's gonna be great at whatever he does. It's just kind of a bummer for Houston. All right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's talk about the departures because there were a lot of them. So it started with Montecristo coming out with a long tweet. Like he basically he must have had it written down somewhere in the perfect amount of characters, copied and pasted, just replying to himself in 12 different tweets. And it basically sounded like he was not happy with the new management since Nate Nancer left. And I can understand that because I haven't agreed with a lot of stuff that has happened after Nate's departure as well.
I'm sorry. We have new management? I didn't know. I don't ever see them.
Yeah, he was on for like a second at the Atlanta homestand, but that was the
I
only
know,
time
I'm
I ever
kidding.
saw him. He's not super involved or not front facing like Nate Nancer was. And I think Monty, I don't know, Monty and Doa seemed a little different when coming to the Overwatch League, a little bit more reserved, more professional than their League of Legends days. I mean, they used to dress up in all kinds of outfits and really be entertaining to the crowd. And I think Monty wanted to do that, but it sounds like he was, stopped from doing quirky things. He, of course, didn't like it that they didn't do what was the original version of Watchpoint, which was in season one. He really enjoyed that, and that was part of that was one of his things that he was heavily involved in creating. They got rid of that. He didn't like that. And so there were a lot of things he didn't like. And he says he didn't leave for money. But what do you think this does to the Overwatch League, Monty leaving?
I
I
think
think it had
speculating, well, just real fast and then you can go. I
go
think
for it. No, go
speculating
ahead, go
on
for it.
why Monty would leave, I think Nanzer, it sounds like Nanzer gave Monty and Doa maybe quite a bit of freedom, right? And kind of took their opinions as, seasoned esports casters and veterans that, took it to heart and implemented things like that. And it sounds like new management took over and maybe that freedom didn't transfer and then it was kind of starting to get taken away. And as you start to take away things that people were able to do before, their whole morale just kind of plummets and they just don't want to do it anymore,
I gotcha. What were you going to say, Dre?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think also this agreement, like Mel said, probably less freedom to do their direction they wanted to take the league and the casting. I also think it was some financial like differences there too. I think as the league has grown, probably they're expecting, hey, they've brought a lot into the league. I also, if you're expecting me to travel and keep up with all this stuff and all this other stuff, I probably also expect you to maybe pay me a little bit more. Um, and it does sound like they were not trying to pay them more. And we don't know anything about this. These are just kind of like some of the rumors and stuff that we've been able to piece together from their tweets and some of the stuff that they've said. But I think this had a sort of like a cascading effect on a lot of the other casters. Um, all of these circumstances sort of combined, right? That a little bit less freedom, you know, more work and much more effort for probably around the same amount of compensation. Um, the fact that they have to be traveling over the place, they're not gonna be at home, right? They're not gonna have like a central location. That's a lot to ask for a person as well. I think that all that probably just kind of converged, and Monty was just like, "Yeah, this is not gonna work for me anymore." Made his tweet, and I think that a lot of the other casters sort of felt the same way and agreed with him, and they sort of followed, right?
Yeah.
Um, if you look at this though, these are all sort of like the seasoned pros, like the guys that have been in a ton of esports. They've grown sort of like the casting in and of itself. And I think it's a big loss for Overwatch League in a sense. I don't think that casting is gonna get that much worse. In fact, I think that some of the new talent that is coming in, like Jake and Costa, are probably gonna do a better job in regards to Overwatch casting, specifically about the game and like what gamers like listening to. I think they're gonna do even better than these guys have been doing. But I do think that these guys bring a lot to the table that you don't get to see on camera. Not
Right.
regarding like their particular casting, but what they're doing behind the scenes. A lot of the work that they put into that job, and these guys have huge networks. Like Costa and Jake are known within the Overwatch scene. Monty, Doa, Puckett are known in like the whole esports
Mm-hmm.
scene, right? Much broader, and like the people that they personally know and the connections that they have are also huge, right? So I think that the league is missing or is gonna miss out on a lot of things that maybe don't meet the eye right at first.
Well, and there was also it's total rumor, so take this with a grain of salt. But there was also a rumor that the reason ZP didn't get in on Overwatch League Season 1 is because he had beef with a caster or two on the current roster. And many people have guessed that that was Montecristo. So the ad of ZP could have just sent things over the edge. But Doa, Monty claims that it's not compensation. But Doa, on the other hand, wrote a long tweet longer where he doesn't talk about compensation, but it's titled Toss a Coin to Your Caster, which is a play on the new Netflix series The Witcher. There's a song, Toss a Coin to Your Witcher, or something like that. And he's basically saying that he wasn't being compensated in the title of the twit longer. So it's very possible that that was part of Monty's reasoning too, but he's way
that
too
could be
proud to ever
metaphorical
say.
to, like, treat me
Treat me
nicely,
nice.
or like toss me a coin, kind of like allow me to help you, kind of thing. Allow me to
It
be
could
myself,
definitely,
or
it
give
could
give me the
definitely.
tools to succeed. I don't know. It
Right.
could be metaphorical, but yeah, like I personally believe that they're not getting like a huge pay raise for like what it's gonna come next. Uber, on the other hand, I don't think they wanted to let him go. They were probably like, no.
Yeah, well,
We'll give you
rumors are
everybody's money.
they're paying
We'll
Uber
fire
big
everybody
time.
and pay you.
And
Yeah.
in my personal opinion, Uber is the staple of the Overwatch League, not Monty and Doa. Uber is the one that energizes me, that excites me. I mean, Monty and Doa did great. They were some of my favorites. But Uber, just his enthusiasm, the way he casts the game, his little Uberisms are just he is definitely my favorite caster.
The way he casts, it's an art form. Like
Oh
I just
yeah.
never have heard somebody cast esports the way that Uber casts esports. Like, that man can make like eating an apple exciting as long as he's
Mhm.
casting it. He's so good at like hyping you up, and like the stuff that he comes up off the cuff. Like, he's very witty. Like, where is he coming up with like all these
Right.
expressions?
I know.
As it's happening, right? Because it's so hard to cast a game already and be able to keep up with it and be able to express that in words, to also be throwing like all this witty commentary and like keep the hype. I mean, he's a whole package, and
Yeah,
he's
he's just
good
definitely an
at
artist.
understanding the game as well. He's not
Right.
like not in depth as Jake or Costa, but he's all about color commentary. And like I mean, the league is lucky to have Uber, so I know that the league knows his value too, because he didn't leave.
And the contrast between him and Mr. X, just I love it, right? Just the
Yeah.
like super chill and the super like crazy. But
Yep.
one thing I will say, like one thing Monty said in his interview was that he disagreed with the direction of the Overwatch League, and basically saying he doesn't think it's possible to appeal to mainstream audiences and core gamers. And I know that the new commissioner is much more of a traditional sports background, right? And Monty did not agree with that kind of way of going with the Overwatch League. And I think that's something that maybe the new commissioner wasn't as good at, like breaking it down as maybe Nate Nanzer was, because that was always Nate Nanzer's vision as well, right? But Nate, I think, could kind of like make concessions here and there that kind of like brought everything together. And I don't think that Spectre is doing that. However, you do see the people that are leaving are the veteran esports people. And I think there is kind of this divide on like, we don't want esports to change type of thing. We don't want to be like traditional sports versus let's try to mainstream more into the traditional sports aspect.
Yeah. But you mentioned Puckett, and now this departure, I think, is the most impacting departure that we have seen, and that's Puckett leaving. Now, Malik definitely improved and got better, but can you imagine Malik as the number one spokesperson for the Overwatch League? I mean, Puckett was just on point. And back to you. I mean, he's got that
Bucket is just very
voice.
polished.
Yeah,
He's
he's
like main
polished.
anchor quality kind of guy.
Yeah, I mean, and
But I
now
guess look at this
I'm
though. What do
worried.
you think? I agree, but what do you think the desk looks like in 2020? The desk can't go to every single game. Do they do the desk from LA?
Probably.
They've already announced that they're gonna have or they're gonna hire new talent to
Yeah, new
cast for their
talent's on the
shows.
way. We'll be talking about them in future,
But
but
new talent, maybe like casters. They did say that the casters would be regionally located, right?
they're gonna
So
try to do that. Yeah.
we're assuming that they'll
I
put
could see that desk being in LA because you just have to like link
mhm,
with them in between matches. So and they don't have
right.
to be like live, right? They just have to kind of fill in between. So yeah, I could see that like the main broadcast happening in LA and then kind of like linking with them.
Yeah, it'll probably be on the Blizzard campus. I mean, they'll probably make a nice little studio. They're going to need a place to do the StarCraft stuff now too, because that was all being done at Burbank Studios. So there was a few other things Blizzard wise that were done at Burbank Studios that they're going to have a new space to do them. So I think it's very possible the desk is going to be not
Yeah.
located in the cities. Although that was a big draw for a lot of people. They had whole rooms where the desk was set up and they did little things. Everybody got to come and say hi to their favorite person on
And
the desk.
But
so
only at
far,
the
the
big
desk has
events,
always been
right?
local too. It's always been local, so I don't know.
Right.
As far as we know, it could also be like that.
Right. But it would make more sense with Puckett because he said he relocated because his wife got a job back in New York and they relocated back to New York, which if he was traveling wouldn't really be a thing, right? Like wherever he lived, he could live wherever if
Yeah.
he was traveling with the Overwatch League. So
Well,
either one, he didn't want to travel all like that much, or two, they're basing it in LA and he wasn't going to live there.
and he also, I mean, he also did basically say like he's going to still do Overwatch events. So I mean, big ones we could still possibly see Puckett there.
Yeah, just like we saw Golden Boy come back,
Hmm.
to
Right.
do different things. I think that's what there's a couple of them. I think Semler and Puckett and even Doa to an extent stated, that they still want some of that involvement. The only one that didn't really was Monty.
Yeah, Monty went out guns a blazing.
Typical Monty fashion, right? But the rest of them stated like they may be involved here and there. So I think we're looking at, Monty went out, I don't want to come back. The rest of them kind of went out keeping the door open. But Monty's also, I think, one of the biggest. I think Puckett is big as well. Won't have any trouble figuring out something to do. But,
Right.
the others could just be
I think this is
playing
just.
political.
I think everybody has gone through this at one point in their lives, whether it's at their job or at their school or something. But this is like when new management comes in, right? There's always changes that happen, and they have a ripple effect. Sometimes take a little bit of time to happen, but the league change hands. There's new management going on. There's probably new initiatives, new ways of doing things, and the people that were there before might have been used to things a certain way and they were envisioning a certain things, but now the new management's there, maybe certain paths are no longer there, certain opportunities are no longer there, and the way things are done are different. Some people are gonna agree. It's gonna create opportunities for some, like Jake and Costa, for example. They saw their move and they took it, right? Likewise with the teams, some stuff might be happening internally that they're working out differently, but some people just don't might not agree with those changes and they are not in their main benefit.
Hmm.
I think that this talent like Monty, Doa, Semler, and Puckett, they have amazing resumes right now. Like
Hmm.
they can go on right now and do so many things both in the industry and outside the industry because esports are growing, right? And these guys are super experienced in what they did and they're great on camera. So I'm sure that they have a lot of opportunities, a lot of projects that they're thinking about themselves that they've been wanting to do. So um
Mm,
we're just seeing kind of like that natural evolution of
s-
big projects like this one.
Speaking of Semler is probably going back to CS:GO, but definitely left himself open. And I don't know. I saw Semler the writing on the wall opening week of Overwatch League Season 2. He did not like goats. He's all about the excitement, and he couldn't get excited about it, and it was driving him nuts. He did not seem happy about it at all. But of course, was under contract, and like the true professional he is, played it out. But I was pretty sure he's the one that I thought was leaving. The rest of them, I didn't think. But you have to go back and think it was bound to change because this is going to be a completely different thing. It's like a whole new Overwatch League. It's going to be completely different.
Yeah, I guess some were just announced today. So I guess the next question would be who's going to cast with Hex, or is Hex staying?
I
You know what I
vote
mean?
Lemon Kiwi, and Hex is definitely staying. He's been putting
Hex is
himself
staying.
everywhere to be the most useful talent that they have, like the Swiss Army knife that can plug in anywhere.
What you have to look at is like all the guys that are leaving had careers before this. Like
Hmm.
this was like the next step in their career. And they were brought in because they were already in this track and they had experience with it. The people that are still in the league, like Hex, for example, or why am I blanking on his name? His trusty partner. Um,
Hex's partner was somewhere.
no, like back in the day, that's joining the
Oh,
league.
ZP.
Yeah,
ZP. Oh my god, why am
Yeah.
I blanking on his name?
but ZP's
Like
with
these
Jake.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. These guys are making their career here. This is like their first sort of endeavor, and I would say is it their best interest to keep writing this out at least for a while, right? Like keep like working on their chops, keep building that resume, and later on, if they want to, kind of like move on to do something else.
Yep. I thought it was interesting that ZP came up without a Vast, and he's going back to work with Jake. They used to talk a lot on Chan Man's old podcast, and they did have good partnerships. But I always remember ZP getting mad because Jake was so long-winded. So we'll see how that works out. Like he didn't go back with Hex. Maybe he's a little upset for Hex leaving him and going into the league. But maybe
Well, some were
Vast
just
comes
announced
on.
today, though. Some were just announced today. So maybe that wasn't common knowledge when he signed up to join Jake.
Oh, true. Yeah, could
You know
be.
what I mean?
I say Lemon Kiwi. Lemon Kiwi and Hex, they're both about the same height. Should be perfect.
Don't need to get him a box like Mr. X.
Do you guys have any ideas? Maybe Bupasaurus and Ham Tornado could come up. They could be good in the league. Like, I can't believe Avast hasn't been signed yet, but maybe he'd rather just keep streaming.
I think they also need to find his regional talent. Like, I don't know if they need more talent from America. I think that honestly, they're set on the American casters, but I
Hmm.
think that bringing like European talent and bringing like Asian talent, that could sort of bridge those cultures, right? You need somebody that's popular there, somebody that is
Right.
known there, and like the audiences there can like be like, yeah, this is our guy, and then mix that up with like the guys from over here, and likewise with Europe, right? Like you need like somebody from France or UK or somebody that can like
Well, I think
take
Bren and
care of that.
Sideshow are going to Europe.
Oh, that would make total sense.
And I think Wolf and Achilleos are going to do like Korea and China because they came over here from doing casting in Korea, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But if you're
So
gonna
they're very
hire any
familiar
talent,
with
that's
that.
what I figured you would do, right? Like have somebody local from there that can join you in the cast.
Yeah. So I think right now they've got like 3 pairs for the USA and Canada. And then from what I've read, then Wolf and Achilleos probably in Korea and China, and Brennan Sideshow in London and Paris. And Brennan Sideshow is interesting. I don't know how I feel about it yet, to be quite honest.
I
Yeah,
think
I'm
they
not
have the
sure.
capacity to do it, but it might be a little shaky in the beginning, especially with Bren. Like Sideshow has great analytical talent,
Yes.
and Sideshow is also very quick in the way that he can say things. So I'm not too worried about him.
Yes.
But
I wasn't worried
Bren,
about Sideshow either.
Bren sometimes is too goofy, so we'll
Well,
see how he does.
I honestly think Bren has a much better chance of being good at a play-by-play casting spot than he ever was on the desk. I mean, Sideshow does his homework. Bren likes to just not study and go by the seat of his pants, which is perfect for play-by-play. So I think this is actually a good change as long as he can keep it up and keep up with the fast pace of the game. And Sideshow will take care of all of the color,
And
required.
maybe they've been practicing too. I mean, they have good chemistry, so they're a good duo like, by itself.
Yep. But another thing that's weird is that if you're only going with those casters, then that only puts, a duo in each city and or in each quadrant. And then does that mean they cast all of the games at the home stand? Like that'll be a lot of work. So I think a lot more
That's what I'm
casters are
saying.
getting added.
That's what I'm saying. They have to get more talent. There's not going to be the main ones. They're probably going to want at least a pair of seasoned casters in each region that can carry sort of like the broadcast. And then they'll bring sort of the supporting cast around it. I personally think they should do originally find talent that is known within those regions. That's what makes the most sense to me. And then have like that seasoned pair sort of like take him under their wing and be like, hey,
Yeah,
share
that'd
that
be a good
experience
call.
with them.
Yeah, that'd be really good. But yeah, so lots of changes to the cast, and we're gonna have to see who they add leading up to the start of the season. It's gonna be interesting to see what their choices are, but there's plenty of talent to choose from. So I'm just interested to see if it's any of our buddies. It'll be neat, and we'll be happy for them if they get moved up.
Do you think that they will have like Chinese casters in the arena for the China matches?
Yeah, they'll have Chinese and English speaking casters.
Which-
That makes sense.
Yeah, if they've done it anything like the past, it'll for sure be like that.
Yeah, for the local event, it'll be Chinese casters, and they'll have like a separate desk for like their international broadcast with English speaking casters. My guess.
Mhm.
Yep. Well, we had a couple other things we wanted to talk about, but we're going to push them on to next week because we are running out of time here, and we don't want to just pass over them quickly. We want to actually talk about them and discuss them. Going forward, we'll definitely, I'm sure, have iPlay on whenever like new meta changes are coming in. That'll be perfect times for him to come on and talk about that. Definitely, he'll be helping out during the Atlanta stuff.
Oh yeah.
So yeah,
I'm
anytime
sure
he
he'll want
wants
to
to
try
come
to come
on.
on when Atlanta's doing well.
Every time Atlanta's on the top, you'll see me over here.
Yeah, and so for it's just gonna be me and Mel to start with. There's no real plans to bring a third person on because we want to do what we think we do well, and that's bring on guests, and we want to have enough time for everybody to talk when guests come on, and so it makes more sense just to keep it the two of us now. And it's going to be interesting going forward. If there's anything you'd like to see from us, let us know. But besides that, we're going to go to closing out the show. We'd like you to follow us on Twitter. That's at Owl Recap. If you want to send something a little bit longer, send your emails to contact@owlrecap.com. If you want to catch us live on Twitch, it's twitch.tv/owlrecap. But we've also been having some talks about possibly doing YouTube or maybe doing them both at the same time. I'm not really sure how that all works, but we're going to look into that. So you might be able to catch us on YouTube also if you're subscribed. We didn't even check the iTunes reviews, but we encourage you to leave us iTunes reviews. We will most of the time read them on the show. We'd love to hear what you think, and good or bad. We just want to get better. We would like you to join our Discord as well. We share Discord with Omnic Lab. That's discord.me/OmnicLab. We do game nights every month. This month it's on the 31st. It's always the last Friday of every month, and we've been gone from them for a while, but Mel and I should be at this next one, so we're pretty excited about that. We hope you come too. You can check us out on YouTube. You can leave comments there too. It's youtube.com/AlRecap. We'd love to hear more comments on YouTube. That's actually grown quite a bit. And we just love to interact with you there. So please leave comments about anything you're thinking about the show. All right, guys, let's close it out. Where can we find you? I Play Games.
If you want to find me, you can do so over on Twitter at iplaigames. You spell that IPLAI games.
And what about you, Mel?
You can find me on Twitter at MelOverwatch.
And you can find me on Twitter at Blazzin_Bob. That's BLAZZIN_BOB. We thank you guys for staying subscribed during our long absence and vacation, and we look forward to season 3 and can't wait to share all the fun and craziness with y'all. We will see you next time.
Bye.